Thank you for joining us today. I call the October 19th meeting of the Human Rights Commission to order. Let's begin with an introduction of commission members, please. Starting with Cheryl.
Cheryl Schafel, Commission Member.
Nancy Boyle, Commission Member.
Cody Severson, Commission Chair.
Estes Sirleaf, Commission Member.
Carolyn B. Kraft, Commission Member.
Kristen Nelson, Commission Member.
Tom Bassah, Commissioner Member.
Thank you, folks. The next item is to approve the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So move.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Next up, we will approve the meeting minutes and I think Ahmed had emailed those out to everybody as well. Can I get a motion to approve both minutes?
Move to approve minutes.
Can I-
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, that motion carries. The next item that we have on the agenda is a statement in support to International Plaza. Ahmed, are you able to put that up there? Perfect. Okay. The Fargo Human Rights Commission stands alongside International Market Plaza and the North Dakota Human Rights Coalition in condemning such acts of vandalism and targets of minority-owned businesses. The Human Rights Commission supports the legal actions of the International Market Plaza and the North Dakota Human Rights Coalition have taken in pursuit of justice. We believe in the power of art to foster dialogue, understanding, and unity among people from different backgrounds. We recognize the importance of preserving and respecting artistic creations as a fundamental aspect of human rights and cultural heritage. It is our collective responsibility to promote a safe and inclusive environment where creativity and diversity can thrive. Thank you. And then, did any other commissioners have comments on that?
I move we approve this statement.
I second it.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, commissioners. That motion carries, and then we will submit this to the press as well then. All right, thank you. Number 5 that we have then is breaking barriers, and we will ask Larry Peterson to come up and talk to us about his group. Oh, I guess I wanted to mention as well, we had brought this forward just because this month is LGBTQ plus History Month for nationally speaking, so we wanted Larry to come forth and share a little bit of information about this population. So, thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Cody. So, yeah, I'm Larry Peterson with the Red River Rainbow Seniors, and want to thank Cody for inviting me and the other members of the commission. Really, this program has been what we call a labor of love by volunteers from the Red River Rainbow Seniors. We've been learning as we go in this project. This project began in 6 years ago in November 2017. Red River Rainbow Seniors is an older LGBTQ group. We are dedicated to providing advocacy, education, support, and fun for the older LGBTQ community in the area. Started again about 6 years ago. We have actually conducted over 180 interviews at this point, and our primary focus, really because of people aging, is on older LGBTQ people and their allies. What we decided when we started was we wanted to create a record really for future generations of what it meant to grow up as LGBTQ plus in the Northern Plains. Stories about coming out, stories about forming families of choice, how we found our place in society. And this is a grant that really we depend on a lot of grant work from the FM Pride, from generous donors, from the Awesome Foundation, from Humanities North Dakota, P-Fund Foundation, and the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund have all helped provided financial support for transcribing and creating the archives. When the Oral History Committee sat down and began to look over our interviews and said, well, what are we seeing as major themes? And a really major one was coming out and no longer living a lie and beginning to live with integrity. Questions of religion and spirituality were often difficult and important for people we interviewed. Questions of family and marriage. So I said to someone earlier, almost a third of our interviewees were in heterosexual marriages because of their age. That was kind of what was considered normal. And now many of them are in same-sex marriages. How do we create community? Unfortunately, discrimination is a topic that comes throughout the interviews, with alienation from biological family, bullying, loss of traditional religious home. But virtually all the interviews end with a sense of strength and resilience that people have now feel. Well, so why us and why now? Well, we were a hidden minority. We were a pioneer generation. We broke new ground. We wrote new rules. And we became new role models. And, where did we grow up? Well, as you can see, really, we're everywhere. So I'm going to share one story with you out of the many we've collected, and this is Gail. Gail grew up in Fort Yates.
When I was a very young boy, I did not feel like a boy. I did not really fall into the traditional boy things, although, I did them. But I remember I had this friend, and we liked to have tea parties and play with dolls and all this stuff, and that seemed a lot more fun to me than whatever else was going on, But I did, ride bike and play with other kids too and all that. But I knew something was not right, because something was just, I didn't realize it at first, but I can't describe, how can I just say that? I cannot describe the feelings that I had that this wasn't really me. When I was really young, I'd be putting on lipstick and different things like that I would find my mom's stuff and do that, but I was always told, you don't do that. Boys don't do that. So, you just kind of shy away from it for a while. But you still keep thinking about kind of how nice that felt. How you wanted to do that more than this other stuff. I think it was in about my sophomore year. I was running late from school because I was experimenting with some clothes in the house. And lo and behold, in walks my dad. He just looks at me, asks me what am I doing. And I don't remember, I kind of blurted something out. And he says, well, get out of those clothes, get dressed, and get to school. So I did. My heart was pounding 90 miles an hour. I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I came back from school, and I'm sure he had talked to my mother. And when I came home, and no one said boo. My mother didn't ask me any questions. He didn't ask me any questions. Just kind of like, it was this underlying current, I guess I could sense that you better not do this again or whatever kind of deal, kind of feeling. And so I didn't for a while. I think maybe later in my senior year I was experimenting again, but I'm transsexual. I felt, the old cliche, a woman born into a male's body. So there I was. And during the course of that, it was that I would act out these feelings, and then I would get immediately embarrassed and scared and freak out and then just like stop everything and whatever things I had I would get rid of and I would just try to be extra macho or whatever you want to call it. That happened many, many, many times during my adulthood, including when I was in the military.
Then Gail came out at home.
So anyway, during the course of the marriage, those feelings would always come out of, just come at me, hit me. And so when my wife and the child were gone, I would play dress up and put makeup on, and each time getting a little bolder and a little bolder. But then immediately after that, I would just like get rid of all the stuff that I had bought myself and go on like nothing happened and just try to put it all behind me. It was getting pretty dark again with all the closed in, nobody really to talk to. When I was on a trip, a letter came into the post office back at my house, and my wife received it and was curious and opened it. I tried to talk to her about it. I tried to get her to read things, to understand it, to hear the turmoil that I was going through. And at first she made tentative little steps, but as time progressed, she just said she's not going to do it. She just can't do it. And at some point during that last year, I came out to my son, who was very negative about the whole thing, verbally and physically.
Gail thought things might go better at work.
So I thought, and that it's going to work out. That possibly I could go on with this and transition and have the surgery and still retain my job. I think we all do go through that or hope for that or wish to that, It's just that we just can't go on living the way we're living. It's like living a lie to ourselves. And then there's the thoughts of, if I can't live like this, and if I have to, I just can't go on living.
And unfortunately, when Gail came out, she lost her job.
I was full-time as Gail. I was out there. I was out there. And I was feeling good, because this is the first time I ever felt like, hey, this is me. Wow. I meet people at this retreat center for women run by Franciscan sisters. We became friends. I started working out there a couple times a week. It was called Claire's Well in Annandale, Minnesota. But I made tremendous friendships with these sisters. And they knew right away what was in me, where my past was. They knew that I was they used transgender. And they had no problem with it. No problem with it whatsoever. I was just like flabbergasted. And the more I worked there and meeting all these different women from all over different parts of Minnesota, no one batted an eye. Not one person. I was accepted, all the way.
And here are some others who've been interviewed, and you may see some familiar faces. This last couple, Marlon and Don, have been together since 1958. So if you want to contact us, I passed out a brochure, I hope to most people, which has QR codes on in the kind of bookmark on the inside about you can listen to interviews that have been with people's commission have been on Digital Horizons at NDSU and some Breaking Barriers podcast from Prairie Public Radio. So be glad to try to answer any questions people have.
Thank you, Larry. Anybody have questions that they'd like to ask?
I do. Thank you for your presentation, Larry. I just want to say a couple of things to you about your program. First, I was really excited to see somebody from Pearlie, Minnesota. I grew up out there, so I know exactly where that is, and how rural it is out there. Second, I'm the founder of Project Ray, and we work with queer youth ages 3 to 14. And just listening to the story that was included in your presentation just really illustrated the parallels that even older queer folks and our younger queer population is going through. And it might be I might contact you all because it could be a good intersection for both of our organizations to come together.
Great.
I want to thank you for your presentation. I think the work you do is so important, and kudos.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we wanted to get people's story. Well, of the people we've interviewed, 16 of them died already after they were interviewed, and there's another 14 or 15 that kind of we had on our list of, we should interview these people, and they have also passed away, and in some cases we had no idea that they were not doing well. So it's just, that issue of trying to capture older people's stories, no matter who they are, if they're older. Yeah.
And that's very important. Important to do that, and important for some folks to say that this just isn't new. This is the way we are. Thank you.
All right, thank you much. Oh, sorry, Tyler.
Yeah, and also Larry, I want to appreciate you for really coming out here today. When we think about LGBTQ community, we usually overlooked the older folks, but just having this movement and being able to talk about it, we really want to appreciate you for that. But my one question here is, how do you get older people to sit for an interview, especially those that are not really internet friendly, to visit your website and Facebook pages?
Okay, so I'm hard of hearing, and so I didn't catch exactly the last part of your question.
Yeah, how do you get the older folks, most older folks, to sit for an interview, especially those that are not internet friendly, to go to your website, to check your Facebook page? How do you reach out to them?
So we reach out to people in a couple. Thank you for asking that question. We do have. We're going to the North Dakota LGBTQ Summit this weekend, and we'll have a table there. We've gone to regional prides like at Bemidji, Detroit Lakes, Fergus Falls, and we table there. But frankly, that is an issue for us because most of the people. We have what's classically in sociological terms called a snowball sample. We interview people like us, so we made a list of people. And so our sample of people is very unrepresentative. We have very few people of color. Almost everybody's college educated. Almost everybody has had a professional career. And we know that there are lots of people out there who are gay and lesbian and transgender who don't fit those categories. But we have struggled to connect with them and to make them feel comfortable getting interviewed. So it has been a struggle.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Larry. And then if others want to connect, please do so on those like email or Facebook or otherwise. Thank you.
Okay.
And then, so now we will go into number 6, Sarah Bagley's presentation on the Arbor's community collaborative efforts. Sure, that's fine.
Excuse me, sir. Thank you. I see there's a timer here. Is it going to start ticking down on me or?
No, not for yours, no.
All right. Well, my name is Sarah Bagley. I'm the executive director of Chisholm Housing Group. We are a nonprofit 501c3 whose mission is focused on preserving and providing affordable housing around the country. We currently have 25 ownership in 25 properties around the country in 12 states. About half, roughly, are senior and disabled focused communities, while the other half are what you would just broadly think of as multifamily properties. I have a brief, it's about a 5-minute video that I'd like to show. The video is focused on our original purchase and renovation of the property that took place in 2018. Oh,
Sorry,
excuse me.
you're good. I just want to have your video come up. Sorry.
What service? Well, while my IT support here is helping, do I click something or? The video, and I think it's an important context before I sort of dive in to talk about services, to give this background on how did we come to own the property, what was the renovation that took place, and so I think this is a useful context, and then I'll follow it up with sort of what's happened since this video. And then I will press play. Hopefully a commercial won't show first, but we'll find out together.
There's a lot of at-risk affordable housing all across the country right now. What we do is we go into that housing, just like this property here, and we give it a new lease on life. We do a multi-million-dollar renovation. We preserve the affordability, and we try to ensure that the housing stock that exists in America isn't depleted. We currently serve thousands of low-income families across the country, and what we focus on is trying to close the back door, the loss of affordable housing that exists. When we came to this project, it was at the request of the previous owner. The property suffered from various operational and physical issues. It had exhausted all of its finance options, and HUD was about to foreclose. The project is a big community. It's 186 units of affordable housing, a variety of different bedroom types, but there are the better part of 500 people who call this home. And those 500 people were about to be put on the street. It was that dire. We were able to work with HUD, and we were able to preserve the affordable housing. When we come into a project like this, we focus on 3 key things: modernization, safety, and services. From a modernization perspective, the intent is that this community feel every bit like a market rate housing project. The apartments were gutted down to the studs. They were given brand new kitchens, brand new Energy Star appliances. They are done to a very high standard, and that's important. We want families to have a good sense of self-worth. From a safety perspective, we want families to feel comfortable here. We want them to feel supported here. So we've added carports with lighting underneath. We've modified all the locks to be high security locks. And then from a services perspective, we're really proud of that. We were actually able to purchase a property next door that was historically a daycare center that had gone dark. And we renovated it, and we turned it into not just a leasing office, but also a services space.
It's amazing to think about what would have been if it had closed. It's a lot of housing units. So thank you for keeping this going.
I can't say enough about the perseverance, dedication, and collaboration of so many people to get here today. Thank you, Integra. Thank you, Joel. And thanks to the multifamily team from Denver that made this happen.
This project not only will continue to exist and provide affordable housing to residents in Fargo, it is going to do so for the next many decades.
Sorry. Oh, there it stopped. Okay. So the gentleman who you heard speaking is actually the president of Chisholm Housing Group. He's on our board. He's also part of our development partner. So we work with Integra we're the nonprofit piece, Integra is the development partner. And I wanted to start with that video just to sort of set the table for who we are, what was happening. This property had about 40 vacant units at the time. It was in dire need of renovation and rehabilitation. And so that video is, we're trying to give you a peek into what was going on sort of behind the doors, what the units look like, and what our new community center looks like. That party and that ribbon cutting took place in August of 2019, and that's when I sort of got to step in and take over. I'm not a bricks and sticks girl. I'm more of the community part of the story. So I actually moved into that community center. There's a manager unit above the center. So I moved into that in November, and I lived on site for 4 months. And that was so that I could really dig in, and I could, show up at the Coalition for the Homeless meetings, and I could show up at the New American Consortium events. And that really started to pay off in terms of people understanding our community, understanding the needs, and building some long-term relationships. One thing I'll because I don't want to assume it's clear, we are not a voucher property. It's project-based assistance, meaning it's open to anyone who earns less than 50% of the area median income. You come to our leasing office, you fill out our forms right there on site, and if you are income qualifying and you pass a background check, you get your subsidy right there on site. So I just want to take that opportunity with those of you in the community who may be tapped into other organizations. Our wait list is short and fast, and we're always looking to move people in. Speaking directly then to the services, and I guess I'll pause really quick and just ask, did anybody have sort of questions on what I've shown so far or the history of the property? Okay. So in terms of services, starting in 2019, when the building was done, the renovation was ready, we focused on a few things. Food and security, that goes hand in hand with sort of low-income households and those who need supportive housing. So as Carism wound down its services in the area, we picked up the food pantry. And so we have been operating the food pantry that's sort of in the park. We took over the lease on the Parks and Rec building in that space. We signed a partnership agreement with Great Plains Food Bank. I actually met with them this morning. And we have continued without interruption that food pantry service. One of your new members, Ms. Absey, actually recently did a community pop-up event that provides sort of culturally appropriate foods. We have a diverse population at the Arbors. I was sitting here just everybody I could think of, Nepalese, Bhutanese, South Sudanese, Liberian. We have indigenous members of our community who live there. So there's multiple languages, multiple immigration statuses. So it's a very broad cultural base that we're serving. And so it's a really great relationship we have with the Great Plains Food Bank to not only provide the base essentials, meats and rice and bread, but also some more culturally appropriate foods, halal meats and such. The next major relationship we formed was with the United Way. So we signed an MOU with the United Way. I can't remember. I might phone a friend across the room, but it was either in the fall of 2019 or in the sort of winter of 2020. Timing became sort of, you can imagine sort of what we all rolled into, but we formed this really exciting workforce development partnership with the United Way. And it was an offshoot of programming they already had in place. And they had partnerships with the Ishara Group, with South Sudanese Foundation, with Sendka, CAP LP, all of these groups in the area that were doing workforce development work. But for our residents, were not available. They didn't have a car. They didn't have the time. They had a language barrier. And so our partnership with the United Way brought all those services into that beautiful new building, into that community center. They also provided an English language program. So beginning in 2020, we provided ESL classes on site. It sort of goes without saying that in 2020, the pandemic hit, and forced us online, forced us to do what we could outside. But I'm very proud of the fact, and I wanted to mention a few numbers for you if I could. During the pandemic, there's a few things that I'm quite proud of and I hope were useful to our residents. One was we partnered with a foundation donor to give $500 gift cards to 75 residents. We effectively gave out $37,000 in a period of a few weeks in 2020. Very few questions asked. Basically, did you live at the Arbors? Could I verify that? And the donor accepted, well, that person has a low income. You know, if they live here, then I know that they're facing these challenges. And we were able to put cash in hand at a time that families basically needed it, you know, without a lot of questions and forms. And that was a very gratifying process to put that money into the community very quickly. We also, I asked my colleague for a number on this earlier today, about $150,000 in North Dakota rent help funds came through our property from the time that program started until its relatively recent wind down. And what that meant was our residents do receive a subsidy, but to the extent jobs and income became very, you know, all over the place and hours were available or they weren't available, oftentimes rent would be owed, but you hadn't worked that week. And so we jumped in and we had an employee who put through hundreds of applications for North Dakota rent help and ultimately procured, we think, about $150,000 in rent for that program. And then lastly, there was a $2,000 grant we sought and received for our food pantry. And while most of our food is free and it comes through a retail rescue program, it helps to have some money in the bank, in the food pantry bank, to be able to buy turkeys at Thanksgiving or to be able to buy produce when produce isn't being volunteered or being donated. So we use our nonprofit status. We sort of leverage our nonprofit status in that way as well to sort of pursue grants, pursue side funding. So those were some of the things that stepped in during the pandemic when some of our workforce development and on-site programs had to pause. A few other things I wanted to highlight, and then I'll bring us to the present. In 2021, we began on the second floor of the building where the food pantry happens, a totally free relief shop for clothing and toiletries. So we partnered with an organization called Life Care Unites, a very homegrown, nonprofit of just good people who wanted to help. And they cleaned, organized, and created this really beautiful shop so that it didn't feel, you'd walk in, everybody got an appointment. That was the other really nice thing about it. You got your appointment, you came in with your family, and you shopped the shelves, you shopped the hangers, and you could pick, there were shoes, there's clothes, and I mentioned toiletries, small items, household goods. And so that program started in 2021. It's continued since. They're still on site today. They operate basically April through October, whenever the snow's not on the ground, that's going on. That started in 2021, and that continues today. And as an example of sort of ways we try to bring programming to the property. Transportation is a huge challenge for those earning low incomes. I mean, I have seen families whose lives are sort of functioning and everybody's doing what they need, and then the car breaks down and the whole thing goes off the rails because then mom loses her job and then kid can't do after school soccer and so on and so on. So everything we can do to bring activities to the property is really how we focus our engagement efforts. When we partner with someone, we say, we love what you do, can you bring it to our building? And that was really, in showing the video, that Nokomis building, I don't know how many of you remember that bright blue Nokomis building, but having a space on the property exclusively for classroom, library, gym, cooking has been really invaluable, because I was just pitching us, to somebody here today to speak. I said, well, can you bring your program to us? I might have glossed over it, and I apologize if I do, but the United Way partnership, which sort of pulled back a little bit during the pandemic, but we're hoping to revive, involved Senka, CapLP, I'm forgetting some, Ishara, But it was financial literacy classes, it was ESL, it was case management, which can, with some, like a caseworker from Sitka. It was CNA training, it was tenants' rights classes that were all held at the property. So a real range of things that those earning low incomes, would need support in. The last thing I'll mention, and then I'd love to take questions, we have really deepened our partnership this summer and of late with the Fargo Police Department. They have a community engagement team, the CET team, led by Sergeant Sean Gamrot, and they are now coming to our food pantry. It's sort of a little bit of kismet that they see it as a chance to interact with residents outside of a criminal situation, outside of a scary interaction. Instead, it's I'm helping you carry apples into the building. And so they have been a great partner. We've been working really proactively with them to both make people feel safe and to actually, ensure the safety of residents. A few other things, it's interesting because I know Hans touched on this in the video. We've learned a little bit about we did this renovation, we finished it, and then you have to live in it, right, for a few years and sort of see how it lives. And one of the things that we discovered is the doors needed something else, and so we've recently sort of, modified, reinvested in the doors in ways just to keep them from being as accessible. And so this is an ongoing effort, is all I want to indicate, is that, we did this multi-million-dollar investment. The interiors really, look as they're shown there. They're lovely market rate, appearance interiors. But we didn't sort of walk away at that point. We have continued to invest in cameras, invest in doors, make little upgrades into the community center, little additions, because we see it as a responsive process, right? We need to see how the property lives and breathes. And I will pause there because I could sort of go on all day, but I'm happy to answer questions. And if I didn't do this up front, thank you so much for this invitation. For what it's worth, I love this city. I should be on your tourism board. I did spend 4 months living on the property, and I just really dug in, and I think it's a special place. And I think our property is special in that it reflects so much, I think, of the diversity people don't appreciate about Fargo, and of the inclusiveness. I mean, the gentleman who was speaking, our relief shop and our pantry, we see transgender clients, we see seniors on low income. So they're out there, they're in the community, and I appreciate how inclusive a city you are building.
Thank you, Sarah. Do we have questions? If we could keep it to like 2 quick questions, that'd be great.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you for coming today. Just real quick, the renovation sounds like it happened in 2019. Do we have management on property that lives there? And what is timing for service requests from residents look like?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we would, at present, none of our site staff lives on site, but they are based in Fargo. So the management company is a company called Arnold Grounds. They're actually a Texas-based company, but they're throughout the country. So that's the practical answer. We are the owner. We hire a management company. We are pretty active owners. In terms of service requests, I assume you're speaking more to maintenance service requests. Depends on the item, and I don't mean to be cute. I'd say we have 2 full-time maintenance staff at present who are equipped to handle, basic plumbing issues, basic HVAC issues. My heat isn't working, my sink is toilet's running, that sort of thing. We strive, obviously, for those to be same day, next day, fixes. Larger items where an HVAC has to be replaced, where a boiler has to be replaced, that's more of a vendor issue. That's a little bit subject to vendor responsiveness. A few days is obviously the longest we'd want that to go. Is that responsive? Yeah.
Thank you. And then Cheryl?
I've got 2 questions. One is, first of all, it's just an amazing project. I'm so glad that y'all did it. But my first question is, are there any other properties in the city of Fargo that this group would be willing to undertake, because
Yeah.
it's necessary. It's so important that we have affordable housing.
Just to no is the short answer at the moment. We have a property in mind out in North Dakota, which I will just throw out there. It's a townhouse-based, subsidized, project-based property. As far as I know, we're the only project-based assistance in town. Most of the other assistance goes to the Housing Authority and is voucher-based. But we are always looking. I mean, to be quite honest, we've made several acquisitions this year. You've got, I'll leave my card, please let me know. We're a preservation-based approach. And so I think that that's also a key thing to get is we've never built from scratch. We look for things that exist and need to continue existing. So that's our specialty.
My other question is, and this is going to be a little controversial, is when you took this over, did you look at the city government for property tax deferment?
So I think, and the lawyer in me wants to reserve our right to follow up, but I think North Dakota does have, I think because we're a nonprofit, as long as we check certain boxes every year, we do get either an entire or a partial abatement, but I wouldn't want to overstep and know exactly how far.
Yeah. The reason I ask the question is because we see a lot of property tax deferment for very high-end housing. And it would be absolutely wonderful if we could get it for a project like this.
Completely agree, because every dollar we don't have to spend on taxes, we put back into the property.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. And we'll have your information kind of flow through Ahmed, and if we have any other questions, we'll come back then, or we'll try to have more dialogue. Sure, okay.
I'm sorry, Sarah. I wanted to kind of look into there is an epidemic going on in that area, and we have seen a lot of death come out from it. People dying,
Overdose.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the United Way partners. We just wanted to know what plans you have to overcome that weakness. We, as a community, want to see the Arbor Store become a heaven for that behavior. And so we wanted to know, as low-income community, how are you going to work with us to prevent those deaths? The last death was a young Liberian, 20-something years old. So, and I'm sure you are aware of it. And I'm just coming as a community member saying, what can we do to help, and what's your plan to do?
I appreciate that. Can I respond?
Within a minute.
I'll
please.
keep it to a minute.
Thank you.
So let's connect after. That's one way. I'm happy to speak with you after. I'll throw out a few things. One, our staff, including myself, all received Narcan training, and we keep Narcan on site from the Fargo Cass Public Health Department. I know that's not a long-term solution, but we do have it on the property, and we are prepared and trained to administer it. We have recently, I mentioned the doors because I do think keeping people who actually don't live on the property but are using it as a place to go out of the buildings is a key part of responding. And that's why I wanted to highlight sort of the physical infrastructure investments, the relationship with police, increased visibility on the property. That's all a welcome and partnered event. And I think increasing activity generally, part of what, just getting back to activity and classes and engagement, more eyes are a good thing generally. When people aren't looking is when things tend to happen, and more eyes, more engagement is a good thing. But I'm happy to talk to you one-on-one. I just wanted to mention a few of those things. Thank you.
Perfect. And if I may as well, I know that's part of the conversation that brought us here in general as to how to make that community a safer space. So I think that that's one of the ongoing conversations that we want to have as a Human Rights Commission in partnership with the Arbors and any other community-based organizations that we can be a part of, is just a long-term, how can we make that a safer area? And so I think that that's also coming into one of our subcommittees as well as to how we can keep that as a longer conversation.
We need your help, is the bottom line. We need community partners. As a landlord,
Sure.
we invite and need that help.
Great. Okay, thank you. And then, so I want to go into number 7 and spend at least about 10 minutes on that right now, please. So we have Fred's dissonance, or Fred Edwards, that I'd like to bring up, and if we can talk about how the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration is going to happen. And then also we want to break that down into a subcommittee as well. So if, while Fred's talking about this event, if y'all want to, I would like 4 people to collaborate on that, please. That's where we're at. If Fred wants to give a kind of a little description of what he intends, or what Fred's dissonance intends for that event, that'd be great. Hey, Fred.
Hey, how's it going? I would play the video from last year, but I'm not 100% sure if it is 100%, yeah. So what I will say is that Martin Luther King celebrations take place in every city for the last 50 to 60 years, no matter the geographical landscape. And I had the awesome opportunity to collaborate a few years ago with the city of Fargo and some other folks on this, and it sounds like they want me to come back. So very appreciative of that. So just want to start out with that. Thank you to the city for allowing that to happen. This year's event will be a lot different than events in the past. We are youth-driven, youth-focused. Fred's Dissonance is sober, fun, cultural events in the community. Those who are in rehabilitation, those at the Arbors community, those who are seniors who are going through different experiences are all welcome at events like this. This year's event is Umoja 55. Umoja means unity or to be one in Swahili, and it is 55 years since the assassination of Martin Luther King. And so what we want to do is we want to honor not only his legacy, but the idea of being a dreamer. And so the theme this year is When Dreamers Unite, because we want to unite all the dreamers in this area. We have plans of having a choir from Davies High School and having youth performers from Fargo South, Fargo North, Davies High School. We are now in Jefferson Elementary, as well as Carl Ben Middle School. And so we prepare to have some youth performing for those areas as well. I think a primary focus is that these youth need opportunities to not only be in the space, but to get paid to be in the space. And so we make sure that our youth are provided compensation for these things. And so this year's event will show a timeline of Martin Luther King's legacy while all asking the question of what does it mean to unite? Or for dreamers to unite. I think everyone in this room is a dreamer in some way, shape, or form. And so hopefully your dream takes place and shapes the world. And so I would pull up the flyer. I don't know if that's possible or not, but it's pretty vibrant, pretty bright, very bright actually. But this year's theme, again, is When Dreamers Unite. And I can make sure that I pass around a few flyers that did get approved by the city already. So I do want to say that as well. But yeah, super thankful for the opportunity. And most people know that this is the most diverse area in North Dakota, which might not mean a whole lot if you come from a very diverse area like myself, but it means a lot to me being here 11 years. This event sometimes can be diplomatic in ways that it shouldn't be, but I think that it should be impactful and integrate the youth that are serving in this area. And so, yeah, it makes me really excited. Did you have it on here? Do you know if you're...
I think Ahmed's going to try to pull it up there.
I could attempt if... Do we know who's... Perfect. We will make sure that the flyer gets sent to the rest of the staff. I do have about 20 copies with me, so I'll make sure to get you all a copy. But I think one of the other things we want to highlight is that the HRC will be helping with the awards and making sure that we get some folks nominated. And the city, I'm pretty excited about the city having the folks come there. So thank you all. I think that is all, unless you all have questions, which I'm hoping you do.
Do folks have questions?
This sounds like a lot of fun. I would be interested, Cody.
Okay. Sorry, you had just said that you were excited to go? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I know that I'm pretty sure that we had sent out the contract to the rest of the commission as well. So everybody is okay? Who would like to be on the subcommittee? Kristen, Nancy. Okay, Kristen and Nancy for right now. Good, okay. Perfect. Fred will follow up then with Ahmed, Kristen and Nancy. Then Carolyn?
Sharon might want to join again.
Okay. Okay, we'll follow up by next week then on what that looks like.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great day now.
Thank you.
Okay. Then we have some staff updates that we want to roll into. Who wanted to talk? Kristen? Okay.
I'll make mine quick, but I did want to update. I had a tour at the Downtown Engagement Center. The staff there invited me to take a tour of the building to note the services that they provide for the in-house population downtown. And I just wanted to update about how impressive their work is downtown. They really do give agency and just independence back to the folks that are down there that utilize those services. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Chandler and her staff. They are an amazing group of people.
Thank you. Any other updates? I know that Amin and I had discussed about the subcommittees, restructuring them for the Education Awareness Committee, Crisis Response Committee, and Legislative Activities and Updates Committee. We'll talk more about that at the working session that we have the first Wednesday of next month. And then I was going to ask Xavier, did you have any updates from the growth plan that you wanted to talk about by chance?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. And then Nancy, any legislative updates right now? No? Okay. Okay, and then any announcements that we want to have? Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. So that's the forum that will be held on Monday, October 30th at the Dakota Medical Foundation at 6 p.m. We trying to bring our community together, and we know that there are older new Americans in the community who are kind of like feeling left out. They really want to be part of the community. They are strong. They want to work. They want to be engaged, fully engaged. But they have some challenges that they're trying to overcome. For example, language barriers. Some of these people are from different countries where they speak different language. And they're here, but they cannot fully participate in the things happening within the community, and they really want to be contributing members of the community. So we've been talking to them individually, but now they want to come together so we can hear them and understand the particular challenges each of them is going through. I met one who is overqualified to be a U.S. citizen by now. But U.S. citizenship, you have to take a test, and that has been a problem. So the way the test is structured, some of them from the countries, their original countries, they were driving. Now they're here. They can't get driver's license because they still have to take the computer tests, and that also is a problem. The way the DMV is structured. Some of them who were fortunate to get job, they can get a ride to go to work. So that becomes another issue. And honestly, they want to be engaged. So how to help them overcome these challenges, that is why we are trying to come together and give our support to the older new American community. So on Monday, October 30th at the Dakota Medical Foundation at 6 p.m. If you are a caregiver, if you have some older Americans within your neighborhood that you know and you interact with, you can direct them to this forum the purpose of our meeting, we just want to sit and give them listening ears so we can hear. If we don't hear what they go through, we won't be able to, will not know how to help them. So we're partnering with the North Dakota Human Rights Coalition, the Human Rights Commission of the City of Fargo, the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and Lutheran Social Services. They will all be there. So we just want everyone to come out and let us just sit and listen and see how we go from there. Because, yeah, there are some dire circumstances they are faced with, and they really need our help.
Great. Thank you. Tom?
Yeah. I'll just be real quick. As a member of the legislative committee, I know I have to circle with Nancy, but I just want to give this information here. Just 2 hours ago, the U.S. State Department issued a worldwide travel alert caution. So this triggers down to residents of Fargo. If you have any travel plans going around the world, you got to be very cautious about your surroundings. With the political tensions going on, there can be a lot of human rights issues going on there. So I just decided to put that out. And also want to appreciate the state, Governor Burgum, for working with the State Department in ensuring that 84 North Dakotans have been safely returned home. I know they were stuck in Israel. They had to take a bus to Jordan, and they finally back home. Thanks.
Thank you. And this is your first meeting with us, correct?
Yeah.
Congratulations. Welcome on the commission.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great. There were two other things I wanted to note. The Fargo Fire Department had an update for us as well. On September 29th, the Fargo Fire Department graduated six new recruits from the Joint Training Academy. On October 16th, the Fargo Fire Department will begin the third Joint Training Academy of 2023. This will be the 9th Joint Training Academy between the Fargo and West Fargo Fire Departments. This summer, the Fargo Fire Department broke ground for the construction of Station 8. Station 8 is scheduled for completion in the fall of 2024. In early 2024, the Fargo Fire Department will begin the hiring process to staff Station 8. So that was pretty exciting on their behalf.
Where is Station 8?
I don't know. Ahmed, do you know where Station 8 is? Okay.
Probably way out
sure.
where the development is.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, Fargo Fire Department. And two other real quick things. The working session, tentatively November 1st, around 3 p.m. I did get a chance to go to Moorhead's Human Rights Commission meeting last night. That was fun. We will hopefully be having more conversations with Moorhead's Human Rights Commission as we go forward and actually collaborate with them a little bit. In the last few minutes that we have here, I wanted to still open it up for a public comment. Those who wish to address the Human Rights Commission, please use the sign-in sheet or let us know at the podium. We ask that you state your name and will be limited to 2 minutes. Comments should not contain profanity or personal attacks. Do we have anybody signed up for public comment?
No.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience who wishes to address us? No. Okay. Is there any other business that commissioners want to talk about? All right. Hearing none, this meeting of the Human Rights Commission stands adjourned. Our next meeting is scheduled for November 16th at noon. Thank you.
Thank you.